The Haynes Motor Museum reached out to us. They've got a private Williams F1 collection that is now available to the public. So we're here today to take a look. Let's go, boys. 2016 Williams FW38, dressed in the beautiful Martini livery. I remember when this returned, this livery, I was so chuffed.
One of the best liveries on the grid for quite a long time. It was beautiful. I remember everyone wanted it to be changed. I don't get why, because you've got the matte white and then the red, the two shades of blue. It's simple, but very effective.
I still think it's probably Williams' best livery of the modern era. It's such a classic.
Sure.
And in real life, it looks a lot more matte than it ever looked on TV. Like, it's just the stickers that are really metallic.
Well, that's the thing, that makes the stickers pop a little bit more.
Every car is different with each generation that we have. So with the front wings, look at the complex,
There's so
many different fins and little aero bits and bobs just sticking off all over the place.
Even look, the little Williams logo just right in the nose as well.
That detail,
So you'd never see that on the cameras. It's a tiny
you have that
little
like
detail.
a radiator, like a normal road car. Does it do the same thing? Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially. And also, barge boards so much simpler than they became in later
this was
years
just sort
as
of
well.
at the start, wasn't it, of the barge boards, sort of coming back to what they were in recent years.
It's just 4 fins. That's literally it.
I love how you can sort of see like the Martinis just sort of like easily peelable off, because they used to have to change it, didn't they? Just to have like the Williams logo in the countries that didn't allow alcohol.
True.
But the back of the car, the way it just sort of, that Coke bottle effect where it comes in nice and tight at the back, probably not as tight as some other cars, but it's so beautiful just to see the.
Because we've seen some of the modern cars are a lot more kind of like shrinked and vacuum packed. So this is kind of also getting to that era.
This is mad, the complexity, the different exhaust pipes to sort of produce a bit more sound, because I remember in 2014 they were so quiet, so they tried to make them bigger, to make them louder.
And this was also the last of kind of the narrow body cars as well in 2016 before the 2017 reg changes kind of came in, but I think it looks like really nice, like that's totally fine.
Yeah. No, it's a good looking car, and the livery, top tier.
Yeah.
The FW30 2008 Williams Toyota, and if any of you have any experience on iRacing, this was actually the last proper F1 car to drive on there, so we'd all have a little bit of experience. Have you got a bit of experience
with this one?
I do have a little bit of experience.
Driven by
this one. But it's a very beautiful car. I actually quite like the shade of blue. It's a darker one, which for me, I don't really particularly like the darker shades of colours on cars, but for me, actually, this actually works really well.
These 2008 cars were just, from an aero point of view, mad. Like these whole side profiles, all of this section. Like,
and it got a lot more crazy. I think this is one of the more simpler ones, probably.
That's what I mean.
There's a big contrast between the 2008 Williams here and the 2016 one over here. You've got so much aero at the front of the car, but over here, there's barely anything. You've got 3 wings, a little bit on the side, but it's such a contrast because the main body of the car, you've got barge boards, you've got a few little streaks on the top, but there's not really too much from the driver's area backwards, whereas we come through here and there's just bits and bobs. If you want a bit of aero, stick it on, and the rear wing, again, I'd say more simple compared to the one over there. It's a different design. I think it's more aggressive, and I kind of prefer this design.
One of my favorite kind of little things about this car, obviously, people know Nico Rosberg from Mercedes, but he did absolute bits when he was at Williams. But the really interesting thing is that in 2008, he got 2nd place at Singapore. And that was, of course, the famous Crashgate race where Alonso might have got a bit of help from his teammates. So I know that Nico is fuming because he thinks that he's the real winner of that race. So potentially this could have been a race-winning car. Flavio Briatore and Piquet got in the way of that, unfortunately. Next up, we move up to 2001, the Williams FW23. The really interesting about this car is that this was the debut for Juan Pablo Montoya. So many amazing memories. I love this livery. It's simple and it's kind of iconic because this was Williams and BMW, an amazing partnership that was just, I think it was incredible.
When you break it down, it's a blue shape that's just plonked on the side of a white car, but it just works. The nose in particular, for me, that is such an iconic nose. The BMW kidneys are there in some way, shape or form anyway. But yeah, for me, this is a beauty.
Simplicity works. We've seen it with the Martini one, and now we see it again here. There's not a lot going on, but it is beautiful.
My absolutely favorite feature though is the steering wheel, the blue suede on the wheel. I mean, that's just so cool.
That has absorbed quite a bit of sweat in its time.
Is it suede though, or is it Alcantara?
Let us know in the comments below. Also, one really cool thing in terms of the season, I mean, one of the most iconic moments, 2001 Brazilian Grand Prix, a rookie Montoya and Michael Schumacher having an amazing battle. And that is really when he kind of announced himself to the world. And what an amazing partnership.
I like this little bit though, coming off here on the side, just in front of the cockpit.
That looks mean.
The little, just sort of sticks out. It's
the bone to see it.
That's
going to puncture a few tyres, I reckon. second. Maybe you can use that tactically.
These guys were surprised. This is probably my favorite car here because just, it's not the best livery here, but just there's something iconic about that BMW partnership, monster power unit as well. Yeah, this era was great.
Compared to the rest of the car, actually, I think the rear wing is probably the most old school thing. You'll see on some of the 90s cars we're about to look at, like it's very rectangular. There's not too much detail. I'd say compared to the 2008 car, it's the rear wing that for me has kind of changed the most.
And just a little detail, something that I've never noticed before is the rain light. It's almost created specifically for this car and it's almost blended into the rear wing. And the diffuser as well. It's an amazing piece of design. I mean, I never actually noticed it, but
that's very cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It's a lot of carbon fibre.
It is a lot, yeah.
95 FW17. Arguably the best car of the 95 season, but didn't win the title. Schumacher took that. Benetton took the constructors.
Damon Hill bottled it. Well. Let's just say how it is. He bottled it a little bit. This was a really good car that should have pushed Schumacher further, but I mean, Schumi was Schumi, but still an amazing car.
Christmas card list now, mate.
Yeah,
sorry,
Are
Damon.
you than me?
But I mean, Coulthard's first season in F1 as well, in this Renault-powered Williams. And again, we're always going to talk about the liveries.
Yeah.
Iconic Rothmans. Where does this sit?
But this is beautiful, and it's up there for me.
Again, it's iconic and it's identifiably Williams.
Yeah, they're so simple now compared to what we've had with 2008 and 2001, and then obviously 2016 as well. But it's so sleek.
I love how the rear wing is it's almost in the car because the side, like it's attached at the sides.
It's like integrated with the engine cover.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
You can sense the aeros getting there in this kind of era.
Yeah.
They're slowly starting to learn.
But still, compared to the other ones, it's not, now we're used to everything vacuum packed into the engine.
Yeah.
This is a lot more bulky, a lot more wider.
There's no Coke bottle effect here.
There's a sign of it underneath, in all fairness. Like, I know it goes right out to the width of the floor with the side pods, but it tucks back in at the back of the car. Yeah, okay, you've got the engine cover and the over-the-top aero covering that, but it's starting, the Coke bottle effect.
Our very own Adrian Newey. So here it is, let's be honest, the main event. Now, this is the Williams FW14, but it is not the FW14B that most people know from Mansell's 1992 championship winning season. This was the year before in 1991, but it's got the red 5 at the front. It's got the camel livery. Everything about this car is just as iconic, and I mean, it's incredible.
Another successful car, 7 race wins for this car, and for me, as I said earlier, this livery is iconic, and it is my favorite livery of all time. Every year a new car comes out and people make the redesigns on the modern cars. It always bangs, and I just wish that it could come back in some sort of, you know, like McLaren did with the Golf livery. Williams can do it for Monaco. Just with this would be incredible.
This was the first year of Adrian Newey joining Williams, and it doesn't quite have the active suspension. There's a few things missing from the 92 car, but this was the beginning. This was where Adrian Newey, the legend of Newey, started. And I mean, he's been pretty decent ever since.
Moving on to the rear wing, I love how Formula One just could never make their mind up what they want to do with rear wings.
But you've got to remember, this is the same season as the Jordan 191, which had the Fujifilm rear wing with loads, it had like 4 different, so there was obviously, Williams just went with 2.
There was a lot of loopholes in the rear wing design.
Exactly.
I think also something that's a bit sketchy and maybe a big part of this era is just that cockpit and how exposed the drivers was.
The angle on that windshield, I've not like...
Very aggressive.
Yeah, really aggressive.
The wind coming over the top would shoot straight over the side because you've got that lovely bit of windshield there.
No real headrest for the driver.
I'm banging their heads.
I'm not fitting in that car.
Go on there, jump in.
It would be a dream to just sit in this car. I feel like I don't know where I would actually fit in.
We'll do it when the cameras are on.
Some dreams should stay in your mind, Hayden, okay? I don't think
then you
want to realise
that. Disappointed.
And also, one last thing, in terms of iconic races and moments, 1991 Canadian Grand Prix, Mansell pretty much led the entire race on for an easy win, and on the final lap, he thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to just showboat, celebrate, and going into the hairpin, the chicane at Canada on the final lap, he put it in a too low of a gear and stalled it and lost the race on the final lap.
That's why you shouldn't celebrate until you cross the line, kids.
Exactly.
Unlucky Nigel. There's one more car left to check, which is in, let's just say it's in slightly different condition to the cars you've seen so far, because it was driven by Pastor Maldonado.
Go.
You can make your own mind up what we're about to see, can't you?
So here we have a kind of 2013 Williams after Pastor Maldonado was done with it.
Seen better days.
Now this was from Monaco, and as you can tell, the race didn't go well for him.
As we all know from the incident in 2020 with Grosjean, it is imperative that the fuel isn't able to combust. So this is the fuel cell. Obviously, it's been a bit battered.
Keep in mind, like, this is where the driver sits. It's like molded to the back of that chassis.
Yeah.
So you are literally not even inches, you're centimeters away from a fire, basically.
You can feel it bubbling away. Just got to hope that your water isn't accidentally plugged into the wrong thing.
Do you get that on the sim as well? That little
You sometimes do. You know, sometimes I take a sip and I'm like, oh, this tastes a bit petrol-y, doesn't it?
And of course, seat. Kazuki Nakajima would have sat in this. Interesting point as well, which makes sense. This seat is designed to be plugged out, so if the driver does have an accident, obviously spinal, you want to keep them as still as possible.
It's weird seeing that chair and or seat and seeing how different they are.
Chair. F1 chair.
Yeah, that'd be quite a comfy armchair, wouldn't it? You know, who wouldn't want that in their home? If you want to win tickets to come and see these cars for yourself, link will be in the description. But until the next video, guys, see you later.